They thought a petty HOA fine would make me bow down to their power-hungry demands. What they didn't know, they just picked a fight with the chief of police. But when I uncovered their illegal operation, one that specifically targeted our community's hardworking first responders, I knew it was time to turn the tables. Because this time, the hunter was about to become the hunted. Welcome to my channel. Comment below where you're watching from. I love hearing from you all. Now, buckle up, because this story changed our entire neighborhood forever. It started like any other morning. I was heading out for my shift at the station, coffee in hand, when I noticed something stuck under my windshield wiper, a bright green piece of paper. At first, I figured it was just another takeout menu. But when I pulled it off and read it, my stomach dropped. An HOA violation notice. A $79 fine for improper lawn maintenance. You've got to be kidding me. I turned to look at my front yard, trying to spot the so-called violation. My lawn was green, freshly mowed, and neat, exactly how it had been for the past 15 years. Sure, it wasn't some perfectly manicured golf course, but it was well maintained. That's when I heard the sharp, deliberate click-clack of high heels on the pavement.
Good morning.
That voice. Sweet as sugar, but sharp enough to cut. I turned to see Karen Mitchell, our brand new HOA board member, striding toward me, tablet in hand. She moved into the neighborhood 6 months ago, campaigned her way onto the board, and in just 3 weeks, had turned everyone's life into a bureaucratic nightmare. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice even. Miss Mitchell, I nodded, holding up the notice. Mind explaining this? My lawn meets all reasonable standards. She barely looked up from her screen. Section 7, Paragraph 3 of the HOA guidelines states that grass height must not exceed 3 inches. Yours is approximately 3.5 inches. I stared at her. You're serious? She tapped away at her tablet, not even pretending to care. Rules are rules, Mr. Johnson. The fine doubles if not paid in 72 hours. And then, just to twist the knife, she smirked. Oh, and you might want to do something about those garden gnomes. They're not on the approved decoration list. My garden gnomes. The ones my late wife had collected. The ones that had been there for over a decade. I felt my blood pressure rise, but I kept my voice calm. I wasn't aware we needed approval for decorations that have been here longer than you have. She smiled. New board, new rules. We're modernizing the neighborhood, getting rid of anything tacky. Then, with a final tap on her screen, she turned and strutted down the sidewalk, heading toward my neighbor Sarah's house. Sarah, an ER nurse, had just finished a brutal night shift. The last thing she needed was Karen snapping pictures of her house for some nonsense violation. And that's when something inside me snapped. I wasn't just dealing with a picky HOA. This was harassment. And after 25 years in law enforcement, I know what abuse of power looks like. I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through our neighborhood Facebook group. The complaints were piling up. Mark, the firefighter down the street, fined for his kid's basketball hoop. The elderly couple across the way, ticketed for unapproved rose bushes. A local teacher, cited because his car was too old and parked in his own driveway. And just when I thought Karen had pushed it far enough, I caught her taking pictures of my gnomes. Again. She didn't know it yet, but she just made a serious mistake. Because what she didn't realize is that when you push people too far, especially people who protect and serve, you don't just make enemies. You start a war. 2 days later, I rolled into my driveway after a brutal double shift dealing with a bank robbery downtown, barely able to keep my eyes open. And that's when I saw them. 2 black SUVs. HOA security plastered on the side, blocking my driveway. I gripped the steering wheel. Oh, hell no. I watched as Karen strutted across my lawn, tablet in hand, snapping pictures of everything. My mailbox, my welcome mat, my garden hose. I stepped out of my car, voice calm but firm. You're blocking my driveway, Karen. Move the vehicles. She turned, flipping her blonde hair like she was in a shampoo commercial. Well, if it isn't our neighborhood's most persistent rule breaker. She tapped her tablet. Let's see, unpaid lawn fines, unauthorized gnome placement, and now, she smirked, pausing dramatically, a non-regulation mailbox color. I laughed. Karen, the mailbox is white. It's been white for 15 years. Yes, but the guidelines now require pristine pearl white. Yours is classic white. Completely different shades. Are you kidding me? That's when I noticed something odd. The security guys. Their badges looked official, but something was off. As chief of police, I know every licensed security company in the area. This wasn't one of them. I pulled out my phone and did a quick business search. And what I found? Karen's brother owned the security company, and it had been registered only 3 months ago, right after she joined the board. This wasn't about enforcing rules. This was a scam. And the deeper I dug, the worse it got. HOA funds funneled to her brother's business. HOA rules changed to target first responders who worked long hours. And the worst part? Unauthorized surveillance cameras, installed on streetlights, pointed at specific homes. Including mine. That's when I knew. Karen wasn't just power-hungry. She was corrupt. But she had no idea who she was messing with. Because tomorrow night, at the HOA emergency meeting, I was bringing all the evidence. And when I was done, Karen Mitchell's reign of terror was about to come crashing down. This is just the beginning. Stay tuned for part 2. Because when someone abuses their power, I make sure they pay. Like, subscribe, and comment below. Have you ever dealt with a corrupt HOA? I want to hear your stories. And remember, sometimes the biggest villains aren't in the headlines. They're hiding right next door.